Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russell here from Porky's Corner, the voice of hardcore boxing. Today, I'm joined by Kent from Northern Ireland. How are you doing, Kent?
How you doing, Russell?
I'm all
Okay,
right.
thanks.
Let's go straight in then. What's been going on?
Basically, first thing is the Billy Joe Saunders fight against Calano has finally happened. Uh, I noticed a couple of I noticed that the relationship maybe think between Billy Joe and Hearn has kind of deteriorated a wee bit over the weekend, and I think he's rightly so, because Addy's antics last weekend were, I think they were a wee bit embarrassing. I think there's a bit of, it's okay to have a bit of fun and kind of get a bit of publicity, but it's kind of becoming incestuous behavior from Hearn. Is it about the boxers or is it about him?
About him, innit? He makes every situation about him. For example, if somebody dies and they're famous, he likes to, and it's trending, he likes to put a tweet out about that person. He may have never met them, but he will pin a tweet up on his social media because he wants to be a star, doesn't he? So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I've noticed as well, $1 billion corporation, $1 billion Addy, he put a tweet out. I actually emailed you about this, and he put a tweet out about some poor guy that something really bad happened to him. I don't know what happened, but Addy put all these mental health charities up and all, and ring this for support and all, and got a load of likes. But if he really, really cared about all these mental health charities, $1 billion company like Addy would be supporting them in some way, or doing initiatives to help these charities, survive, especially through the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. It's just Addy will do anything for a like or a share, and is just craving attention. Like, for example, those pajamas, those Gucci pajamas, I don't even know what they were, what brand they were, but I just find that embarrassing. And I actually think Calano would probably be even laughing at him as well. I think it's out of real bad taste. And as well, he's just got so up. I think he's getting a wee bit too big for his boots at the minute, because I think he's even commenting now on how other promoters do and run their business. This whole row with Bob Arum at the weekend. Is this created a mini war? Is this going to be the excuse for Fury and AJ not to happen?
Well, this is how I look at it, right? And I said it from day one. Look, they want to keep Joshua away from Tyson Fury. And who's to say that Tyson Fury wants to fight Joshua anyway? And I'll throw another curveball at you. Billy Joe's been calling out Golovkin and Canelo for 6 years, not been nowhere near any of them. Until Billy Joe gets in that ring with Canelo, I'm just going to say it ain't happening. That's my opinion. I want to see him in the ring. Till then, for me, anything's possible.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's coming to that stage now, Billy Joe, where he is back with Mark Tibbs, which is great. That's going to give him that foundation. That's going to keep him on track. He's got
Yeah.
this stage in his career where he's never going to get a payday or a fight of this magnitude again. If he pulls out of this fight, it's not going to happen. Calano picks what he wants and chooses who he wants, and will go at his own pace. So if he pulls out of this fight, it's career ending in the sense of big money fights that they're not going to happen now. And I think he's no choice but to take this fight, Russell. He's no choice.
Well, let me tell you this, right? Barry Hearn said to somebody I know, right, after Billy Joe's recent little mess up, because obviously he's like a naughty kid, isn't he, Bill, at times? Barry Hearn said, "You know what? Just get him in with Canelo and let's just get what we can out of the job." And then Eddie came out and said, "I've got him the fight, delivered, blah, blah, blah." It's like Eddie's feeding him to him, saying, "Look, you're a nuisance, get in there with Canelo and let's get it over and done with," kind of thing, innit? Because he hasn't really gone all out to do anything for Billy, really. He's just signed him just to say he's got him, hasn't he, really? So Warren couldn't have him. Billy maybe feels that he's the B-side, I think, and maybe that's hurting him a bit. I don't know. But
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know, it wasn't too long ago, Russell, that Eddie was trashing his career. You know, the drug test. He was trashing him about that. He was calling him a cheater. He was calling him, you know, he pulled out against the Andrade fight and all. And there's going to be bad blood there. You know, but Billy Joe's not stupid. But Billy Joe will not forget that. And just because he signed him to that contract, you know, really, Russell, would Billy Joe really wanted to leave Frank Warren? I don't think he did, but he had to get the Kalena Golovkin fight. And I think you're right. You know, they got him Martin Murray. No disrespect to Martin Murray, but you know, Martin Murray was put in the rankings, top 15 right out of thin air, and he got that fight. He didn't look particularly great in it, to be honest. Now I know there was a lot of spoiling and stuff, and I think now that Eddie's so global now, he doesn't care about the British fighters. It's like, right, there you go. That's your big fight now. Yeah. Good luck with that. Where before it was all about Billy Joe and Smith, Billy Joe and Ryder building up a massive stadium fight. Now that we don't know the demographics with the pandemic and crowds, it's just like, right, get them over to America. Let's get a payday. Let's get a crowd in and see how you are. And you're right. I think they're just looking to feed Billy Joe. And as well, I think Billy Joe really needs to just, his biggest enemy at the minute is Twitter. I think if he can just come off Twitter, get his head down, get really focused, he's got the talent to do it. He just needs to be completely focused on the job.
Billy Joe's a fool to himself. He's become like the unwanted, hasn't he?
Yes, he's kind of Billy, for as much as high talent that he is, like you hear Mark Tibbs talking about him, that you know, Mark Tibbs and his dad have been in boxing longer than anyone. They've seen everything. Yeah. And what they say about Billy Joe Saunders' skill level is on a different level. And it is. But he just creates so much chaos around him. It's really hard to focus, no matter what type of person you are. It's hard to focus when you've got all them distractions going on around you. Yeah. So you're right, Russell.
Well, he's in the Who Needs Him club because it's hard to nail, and he don't really get nailed much, does he? He's in the Who Needs Him club. He doesn't sell tickets. If crowds are back, nobody wants to see him, do they? He's not a pay-per-view fighter either. So this is his best opportunity to get his biggest payday. And it's all pointing towards the build-up being a bit carnage and something happening, and Eddie Hearn just going like that, washing his hands of him and saying, look, we tried, we move on. That's what's coming next, my words.
I think even Eddie, Russell, you kind of touched on something there, and what I see Eddie doing is winding him up, and he's looking a response. He knows when you pull Billy Joe's tail, he's going to come back and bite you, and I think he's been winding Billy Joe up all week, and he knows he's going to get a response. He knows he's going to get tweets. He knows he's going to get a hostile press conference. And what's that going to do? That's going to create interest. That's going to create, you know, pay-per-view buys. It's going to create subscriptions to the zone.
Do you feel that
general interest?
Do you feel that Billy Joe would have been dropped by Eddie Hearn by now, and Frank Warren would have dropped him with his behaviour over years if he wasn't with MTK?
Well, I think some of the problems at the start were before MTK. And I think he got himself into a position. He was the WBO champion. And really, these promoters, Russell, they're business people. They're businessmen. Yeah. So if they can, you know, he has said things, he has did things. I don't think it's so much the MTK influence. I think it's just he's a world champion, and they needed him on their platform. You know, at that time, Russell, Box Nation was just about hanging on for its life.
Yeah.
And Billy Joe Saunders Eubanks fight probably kept them afloat for a couple of years. So I don't think it's the MTK influence. I just think Frank was in a position at the time. He had no broadcaster and he needed absolutely everybody to be on them cards. And that's why he lasted so long with Frank.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see it all pan out now between now and in the next 2 months when they fight, because, well, I wonder what the odds are going to be at the bookies on Billy Joe and Canelo not happening in May, because that would be a good bet. That would be a very good bet. And of course, you've got Eddie Hearn. He's hanging out at the back of Canelo, isn't he? So everything's going to be geared. It's going to be geared for a Canelo win. I mean, Eddie's just crossed the street and he's playing everybody off against each other. He's like the kid. He's like the school bully in the sweet shop. That's what he's like.
I notice now, Russell, that Eddie doesn't care about. We should have seen this 2 years ago when Kell Brook was fighting, Lex really poor opposition on cards. We had cleverly value pay-per-view. We should have seen this years ago, that really doesn't care about the British, the British boxing. Now it's global, and look at the amount of prospects that have been beaten this last couple of weeks. Before, if that would have been a couple of years down the line, that wouldn't have happened. Those fighters would have been protected for as long as they could before they were put in a big fight. Now it's just get them in. I don't care. I've America now. He's American now. He won't stop talking about Mexico. This week, all he talked about was Mexico. He talked about Martinez. He's going to be a big breakout star. Chocolatito Estrada rematch. He's even trying now he's even commenting on Bob Arum's stuff with his Mexican fighters. So he's trying to sign as many Mexican fighters. Lara last week, he doesn't care about British boxing no more. The cards are dire. The opposition is dire. The pay-per-views aren't even pay-per-views. And he's swanning all around the world. Canelo fights, even looking at China now. He doesn't care about Britain. And it's obvious. If anyone with a half a brain can see what he's doing.
Yeah, it's exciting times ahead, Matt.
Sizzling.
This is why we love this sport so much, Johnny. All right, then, let's move on then from the adventures of Tintin. Frankie Gavin, did you see the Trish Dixon interview with Frankie Gavin?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. I've just kind of going through all the weekend's content. I'll probably watch it later on. But Frankie was such a frustrating character, frustrating talent. I met him at Belfast when he fought at Belfast with it was De Gale on the card.
Yeah.
And he was such a talent. I remember him at the World Europeans. He won the Europeans amateurs, the Worlds. His talent was on a different level. And I just don't think he could cope with the discipline as a pro fighter. You're training longer, you're training harder. Very, very frustrating talent. And I kind of don't like watching. I've kind of found some of these videos, Russell, a bit sad. And I don't want to remember the likes of Michael Brody, being high, talking how he is now, and all these other fighters. I want to remember them for when they were on fight nights and having life and death wars and giving people value for money. Seeing a lot of them stories, I think sometimes it has a negative effect on the character, but I will watch it. But very, very frustrating talent. And he was at the end, he was just fed into Kell Brook. Matchroom didn't really build him at all. And it was sad to see him in that fight with Sam Egerton. And he wasn't even fit. And he still pushed Sam Egerton to the limit.
Yeah. How do you feel about Trish Dixon making his way on YouTube when a few years ago we were very critical about people like me and other people doing what we do, and now he's eating off our plate? What do you think about that?
I think it's hypocritical. I think what they see is they get themselves in to a network, they get themselves in with fighters, and
Yeah.
they what we do, Russell, we aren't delivering that same type of content. We're delivering honest content. We're objective. Like, so these guys, they're only doing it because boxing's popular again. That's all. It's not really. They would probably be going doing something else if it was in the headlines. We're doing this because we love it. We're objective about what we're doing. We're being honest about what we're being honest to the fans. We're not spinning fake narratives.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of like you go and do your stuff and we'll do our stuff. And that's fine. That's, you know, just because we're given an opinion on what's going on doesn't make what we're doing wrong. We're being honest. We're not looking to hang out of the back of anyone. We're not looking to be commercial. We're
Yeah.
given an objective, honest opinion. Why? You've been in the sport a long time. I've been involved in the sport and we love it. There's no other narratives to what we do. We're not getting anything out of this. Where like say all these other guys, I'm sure they're getting something out of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Uh, purse bids. What do you think to the purse bid situation? The Teofimo Lopez fight. What do you think to that?
Hilarious. I noticed that Addy was in the bidding. So Addy put himself in the bidding. He brought it up. He forced the bidding up. So Bob has what I know about this situation is Bob has a level that he was going to bid at. And after that level, it had to go open. So he just went over his threshold. Addy was in bumping up the bid. Then Triller, obviously, we're bidding with Eddie, and that's why it's went up sky high. £6.1 million. It means Gambosis probably doesn't need the box again. He's got £2 million. Triller have got the content, and they're basically HBO, the HBO production company. That's who they are. That's who runs it. And look at their last event. It's not. At the minute, it's kind of like the way Eddie used to be, delivering Prize Fighter and all these kind of fights, bringing people back in and out of retirement.
Yeah.
That's what they're starting off with. They've got, apparently what they're going to do in this fight, it's going to be Holyfield and Mike Tyson 3 exhibition will be top of the board, top of the bill, and Teofimo and Gambosis will be joint main event. You've got the likes of Snoop Dogg, who's going to be on this commentating, which is completely farcical. It's kind of like a celebrity boxing. It's going to be like a celebrity boxing network. So it is, with maybe some serious fights in there. They attract the fans like us, and to bring all the casuals in. One of their fights is actually they're going to be doing is Antonio Tarver, who's 40,
50,
against
it's 50,
probably 50. Sorry, 50 against former UFC fighter called Frank Mir, who hasn't had a professional fight and has failed 2 drugs tests. So that's where they're going. The boxing, it's very, very commercially orientated. But I see down the line they'll probably have to start trimming all that stuff off to get the more serious fans in, because they've got the money to do it. And Bob Arum was absolutely furious. There's a whole thing going on with Bob Arum at the minute with him and Lopez. Eddie's chirping in the background again, probably doing what he did with Kalano. So don't be surprised down the line if you see Teofimo Lopez leave Top Rank and jumping in with the zone, which I hope doesn't happen. That's the plan. That's what Eddie's looking. He's looking at Mexican market because that's all he talks about.
Yeah. I think he might be older than 50 as well, Tarver. I've actually had some back and forward with Tarver. He's a character. Uh, that's another story
But
for another day. But
in the landscape of it, it's kind of good for boxing because it means that the zone aren't getting everything. There's going to be another network here that are going to be delivering content, and I love it when Eddie says it's great for boxing. I'm delighted it's happened. He doesn't mean that. When Eddie says stuff like that, it means the complete opposite because, accountant by name, accountant by nature, they're all about, they want everything. They don't want competition. So when there's somebody else coming along, he doesn't like it. And I think it's good in a way.
All right then. You wanted to talk about prospects. Who do you think's good prospects at the moment? Who do you think?
The way I've done five prospects, and I've kind of done it in a way that they don't have titles, but one of them has a title. First one is Lewis Crocker from Belfast. He's with MTK.
Yeah.
He's a very good fighter, really standout amateur. Was actually in my amateur club back in the day.
Is that the guy who's shortlisted on the circular on Border Control website to fight Anthony Tomlinson in a British title eliminator?
Yes, very good fighter, very powerful, very wicked, very spiteful puncher.
Yeah.
He's one of those WBO European belts. He was calling out Conor Ben a year ago, and there was nothing. He's a fantastic prospect.
Yeah.
There is another lad from Belfast, Kevin Arbajako, who's with Frank Warren.
Yeah.
He's 8-0, and he's a fantastic. He's onto the radar. He's just coming in, fighting in the Frank Warren shows. He trains in London.
Yeah.
And I think he trains out of the Peacock. He is a fantastic talent. Black Thunder, they call him. He is so explosive. I think that this guy is. I can't rate him highly enough. I can't speak about him highly enough. Obviously, we've got Dennis McCann, who is an outstanding talent. I would like to see Dennis McCann and with maybe Paul Butler this year. I think that would be a great learning fight for him.
Yeah.
I think then we have got, in my opinion, the best prospect in British boxing is David Adelaide.
Yeah, I know David well. Yeah. He is probably the best heavyweight prospect we've got, yeah.
He is so strong. He punches. I've never seen a heavyweight. He kind of has this when he hits his opponents, you can see the shock in their face, and he's a real good boxing technician. For me, I think, I know we're talking a lot about the downfall of like Queensberry, and I think Queensberry are actually in a better position talent-wise than Matchroom.
They're 2 years away though, aren't they, from anything with these talented fighters, aren't they?
Yeah, they're 2 years away at least. And I was looking the other night, Russell. Matchroom have completely demigrated the British title. They don't use it anymore. Frank Warren has got 7 British champions. So he has 4 belts are vacant. So Frank is actually trying to go down that traditional matchmaking route with his fighters, unlike the other promoters. So I think, matchmaking wise, Queensberry, I think they're slightly ahead of Matchroom. They're matching their fighters that wee bit better. They're going down that traditional British route. I know they use a lot of WBO European belts, which I don't agree with. I think you should be British, come off European.
Yeah.
Because those belts have got rankings where those other ones don't. You can just bring in anyone. So those prospects are all Frank Warren prospects. They're all with Queensberry.
Yeah.
So 2 years down the line, you're going to see a lot of real good talent coming through in Queensberry, and talent that's going through the proper channels.
Yeah. All right. What were the other ones?
I've one more. I only done 5. I put in Hobie Price. I know you rate him, and you were talking about him last week. But is the same thing going to happen with Hobie Price that's going on with Jordan Gill? Is he going to be 30-0 and not been tested? Is that going to be what's going to happen? We all know Caldwell likes to string everything out the way he's done with Jordan Gill. He's 27-1, fought for 1 title and been stopped by a journeyman. So is there going to be that? Is he going to be rushing Hopey that wee bit more to get him that experience? I would like to think so, because I think he's got that. I think he's got that talent to do that.
Well, he'll be judged. Dave Caldwell's whole career will now be judged on this next kid, because he's had 2 prospects now, on Gill and Price, Opie Price, and it's not gone that brilliant for Jordan Gill, although they're on the right track, to be fair. But I think he'll be judged on what he does with Opie Price now, because other than that, he's just Eddie Hearn's go-to guy when people want to get on match with him. They pal Caldwell up, don't they?
Yeah. What's your opinion, Russell, on managers only working with one promotional outfit? Do you think that's in the best interest of the fighters?
No,
or conflict of interest?
No, it isn't, because the promoters controlling these people. For example, Tony Bellew, who manages fighters, he only works with Eddie Hearn. Other people manage fighters and only work with Eddie Hearn. Steffi Bull, he don't want to work with Warren, does he? Or he just wants to work with Eddie and feel show loyalty. Dave Allen's another one, he only wants to work with Eddie. So what happens if opportunities come up with Dylan White's another one, managing fighters only works with Eddie. What happens if opportunities come up for their fighters to go on other shows? What happens then? You have a Dave Allen situation where they were offered the biggest purse he ever had in his career. Well, they matched the price off when he fought David Price. Frank matched it, but offered him tickets as well, £1,000. Dave Allen said he wanted to show his loyalty to Matchroom, but Dave Allen never had a contract with Matchroom. And Dave Allen, I don't know about if Matchroom had shown loyalty with him. They got him smashed up, didn't they, by Ortiz, David Price. He went off on one and fought Yoka, didn't he, in France? Well, who were advising him? So how has he? Why would he want to show any loyalty to Matchroom when they've not shown any loyalty to him? So I don't get that. I think it's. Just finished. I think it's wrong. If opportunities come up, an opportunity came up for him to fight Dubois, and he ringing Eddie Hearn, they've offered me this. Oh, tell him you want this much. Well, why would it be anything to do with Eddie Hearn? Why didn't David go with his gut instinct? Because he regrets it now, I've been told. Why didn't he go with his gut instinct, thinking, do you know what? I'm looking to get out of the sport. I could do with another big payday. So what if I don't get to work with Eddie and be a media guy for Matchroom or Sky, whatever? And he asked for stupid money. They told him to ask for X amount, and the fight fell through. Frank Warren called his bluff. He didn't get the fight. He fought Dorian Darch months later, and that all ended up in a farce with accusations of fixing the fight or waiting to drop him in the 3rd round, wasn't it? It's in Daily Mail. But I don't know what's happening with that. But point is, he should have gone with his own instincts. He doesn't owe Eddie Hearn anything. So he's now retired. Where's his media job with Matchroom? I mean, yesterday we were playing chess one in Unboxing Social, trying to raise money for some good cause, which is good, isn't it? But why not go do a fun run or something, or do half a marathon or something? If you want to be a charity man, or is it just to get yourself out on social media? I don't know, but working with one promoter for a manager is dangerous, because the kids you're not looking after them in your best interest, are you?
No, because the manager's there to squeeze as much money out of the promoter. They're not meant to be mates. So if a promoter says you're going to get 20 grand for that fight, the manager turns around and says, well, really, it's a 30 grand fight. Yeah. We want 30 grand. They're not. It's not the cheapest price wins, and that's Eddie's manipulated this network of managers. That means that he can get the cheapest purses, the cheapest opportunities out of the fighters. And it's kind of this opportunity now. Well, if you don't want to fight, I get somebody else in for cheaper. And it's a complete conflict of interest. I remember years ago, there was so many good managers, promoters. I remember Dennis was working with Frank Maloney, Frank Warren, Ricky Hatton. They had a wee thing going on.
Yeah.
All the fighters were getting opportunities. I'm sure that they all were paying them what they should have been paying. There would have been no rows at that stage because it was about the fighters. But now it's kind of like, yeah, well, tell such and such there's a fight. He's going to get this much money, and if he doesn't like it, I'll go to whoever. I'll go to one of the other cliques for the fighter. But I think that should be a conflict of interest, even within the British Boxing Board of Control. I don't think that should be allowed. It's like in business that would be called inside trading, and it's not feasible. And if I was a fighter, I would not sign with any of them managers because they're not going to get earning opportunities. You know, boxing's about maximizing what you've got, whether you're good, you're bad, you're all right. If you can maximize on what you've got and try and get as much out of the sport, that's what it's all about, because the promoters and the managers are going to do that in you. So I think it's a board issue, but we all know what's going on there with the board. That's not even a conversation. That's a conversation we could have over 2 hours. But I think it's really wrong what's going on.
Yeah, I do.
And it's sad how the sport's going with all these people kind of picking and choosing and using fighters for their own financial gain and profit.
Yeah, it's look, fighters are being used, but my argument is this, and I was talking to, I'm not going to say who, but I was talking to somebody yesterday who was a former champion, and he was telling me what he was getting for certain fights, non-title fights, that is, 20 years ago, and I know what people are getting now, and I was like, wow, the money, they're not being paid. And we're talking before the pandemic as well. He was telling me what fighters were getting paid, and I'm like, but who's allowing this to happen? Fighters are actually paying to fight. Do you know that on some shows in this country? They're paying the opponent and paying something to the promoter to get the kids out there to get a ranking. Yeah. What is all that about? That can't be right,
That is kind of the 4-round, 8-round, 6 to 8 round level where guys have to do a job, have to work, have young families, but they're only really paying. They've tickets, they're given tickets, they have to sell the tickets, and if they don't sell the tickets, they're not on the show.
No, you've got that wrong. If they don't sell the tickets, they're still on the show. If they pull the ticket money in for the opponent, but they might not get to fight for themselves. But what happened to the promoter doing his job and promoting? That's why you're a promoter. You know, when you get that promoter's license, you know what it says on top of it? Promoter. So it means go and promote, not start controlling people because you've got a few TV dates, telling them they've got to pay to fight. What is all that about?
The promoters are promoting themselves now, Russell. They're not promoting the fighters. They're promoting their own brand. They're promoting their own product. They're not promoting the fighters. It's not about the boxers anymore. It's about trainers being the best trainers and advertising themselves. It's about promoters on, advertising themselves. It's not about the fighters anymore. So I think it's actually harder now for fighters to make a living because they aren't being promoted. It's not about them anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up, Ken?
What do you think of the Dillian White fight at the moment? What do you think of the drug? I haven't heard anything about the drug testing. What's going on with this here? We've got 2 fighters that failed tests. What's the protocol for this fight?
Hang on a minute, just take deep breaths. Dillian White and Povetkin, are they a two-time drug cheat? Is Povetkin 3, is he? 3-time, isn't he? 2 or 3? Yep. So basically, we've got 2 drug cheats. one who's never fought for a European title in his 6th pay-per-view. The other one's 42 in September. Is this the pay-per-view you're on about? This one, yeah?
Yeah. Rumble at the Rock.
Rumble on the Rock. You couldn't make it up, could you? I'm not really bothered about the fight, to be honest, because I jumped off the Dillian White hype train when he knocked back a world title fight with Joshua at Wembley in a rematch.
5 million.
How can I get behind somebody like that? The man's a coward. The man only fights people when he's not the underdog. In boxing, it's supposed to be about testing yourselves and going up against it. Now, too many fighters now, they want to go in fights where they know that the fight's in the bag, or they know it's a 50-50. Ain't anybody going to test themselves. We don't want Dare to Be Great where you've got a 2% chance of winning. We want, where you're probably 35%, 40% chance. It could be possible, that kind of fight. But I can't get behind this fight, to be honest with you. And it's now in Gibraltar. What's all that about? Because Dillian White's a tax exile in Portugal. Get him back over here. Show some authority, Eddie Hearn. Get him back over here. Going out to Portugal because it's a bit cheaper with tax. It's just greed, and more greed. And if there ain't no drug testing, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm off at Dillian White hype train now. I mean, I would off it, like I said, when he knocked Joshua fight back. So, but if the fight goes ahead, I wish him all the best. But can we say he's a Brit, innit? He's from Jamaica, innit? Other guys from Russia. I mean, what's all that about? You know what I mean? But
I come off the hype train when he sacked Mark Tibbs via solicitor's email, and that sickened me. I've been following boxing a long time, and Jimmy Tibbs, in my opinion, is the best trainer to come out of Britain.
Yeah. Maybe.
Arguably, he comes from good stock. I read his book. His book was amazing. I actually met him once and I asked him for an autograph years ago. And he's like, what do you want? What do you want an autograph from me for? Just go and see the boxers. But he was a very, very nice man. I got
down to earth.
It's great.
Very down to earth, Jimmy.
Salt of the earth people. Yeah. But as far as White's concerned, his language, how he insults other fighters online. Everyone's a crackhead. Everyone's a scumbag. Everyone's this, everyone's that, other than him. So I kind of went off Dillian White and the whole WBC situation. I think about it, Russell, right? So if the Fury Joshua fight happens, it's not happening this year. It's going to happen at the tail end of next year. It's probably going to be December, right? Yeah. Then there's going to be a rematch, which is going to be 6 months down the line as well.
Yeah.
Whoever wins this WBC, whatever it is, eliminator, golden belt, silver belt, trinkle belt, whatever it is, whatever belt it is, they're not going to be fighting for that title for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
So Dillian White, all this talk about wanting to fight Joshua and Fury, it's all a smokescreen to keep himself on pay-per-view, keep himself active on pay-per-view. I wouldn't be surprised next if he fights Kubrat Pulev next. That's the type of pay-per-views that Eddie recycles all the time. So Dillian White's problem is at the minute is not fighting for the title. I don't even think he wants to fight for the title because he knows he's going to get smashed. Is for him to stay on pay-per-view. That is his motive. That's what he wants. He's not world level. He's not even European level. Probably fringe European level. But I don't see him calling out people. I don't see him calling out even the European champion Kabay. I don't even see him beating him, the southpaw. Never mind winning a world title.
Call Joe Joyce out, does he?
No, that fight would end. That fight would probably last 4 rounds, 6 at most. Dillian can't move his head. He can't step back. Joe's got that rhythm jab. It's just solid the whole time. He's such a hard style to beat. Joe Joyce, he's a cardio monster. He punches so hard. He's technically good as well. He's all that amateur pedigree. I don't even think Dillian White would want to go sparring with Joe Joyce. Never mind fight him.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right, mate. You're probably right. It's exciting times ahead, Kent. All right then. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you on. You're always well organised, and you've got a bit of OCD going on, haven't you, over there in Northern Ireland?
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Northern Ireland is it? Belfast?
From Belfast. I'm
Yeah.
from a place in Belfast called Shankill Road.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
I
Isn't that where Alex Higgins is from?
No, Alex Higgins was from Sandy Row, so he was
That was his nickname, wasn't it? Sandy.
Hurricane Higgins, Sandy. I brilliant. One of our former sons, we're two-time world champion, so he was, and great character. But I live at the minute in a state called Highfield, so I
Yeah.
live just at the top of the Shankill.
You know what I like about Ireland. Whenever I see it on telly, I like the shipping. They've got like a big shipping industry, haven't they, over there? They built the Titanic, didn't they?
Yeah, Titanic Quarter's just probably 3 miles from where I live, and you
Yeah.
can drive around it. It's probably 6 miles right round, top and bottom, right round. On the coastal part behind Victoria Park there. It's a lovely area. You can see all the cranes and stuff, and it's very accessible. There's Titanic Exhibition Centre just beside that as well. So yeah, it's a great part of town. It's a lovely place.
You never see Belfast though advertised as like an holiday resort, do you, or anything like that? Even though it's a beautiful city and that, you never see that, do you?
No,
Like maybe,
we've got a great north coast here that goes
yeah,
right up the Giant's Causeway, and it's beautiful. So
yeah,
it is. If you're ever over here, always go up the north coast. It's a day trip, and it's probably one of the most beautiful coastlines in the world. It is.
yeah.
I
It
love it. I
is.
would rather go up the coastline than go anywhere else. But you're right. It's kind of, we've got a reputation that has kind of been commercialized now, and you've got the likes of Cave Hill and North Coast. You've got Giant's Causeway. You've got Titanic. We've got a good tourist, good natural beauty within Belfast.
When I was a kid growing up, all I used to remember about Belfast were people driving down the street in tanks and army jeeps and stuff like that. And big piles of
Oh,
rubble and stuff like that, and kids
yeah,
throwing bricks at
yeah.
people.
During the troubles and stuff, but well, we've came a long way from that now. So
Good,
we're in a much
good.
better place. And Belfast is a great fight city.
Yeah,
Fight
yeah,
fans in
yeah,
Belfast are it's kind of like a religion here. It's in us to
yeah,
fight. We love fighting. The good thing
yeah,
about over here, Russell, is you said about,
yeah,
the troubles and stuff, but
yeah,
during the troubles, boxing was a really great advocate for building relations. It was a great cross community, sport that people went in each other's areas, and there was never anything involved. Never anything would have happened, if you were involved in boxing clubs, which is great. It's a big part of our DNA is boxing in Northern Ireland.
They need another McGuigan, don't you, to galvanise the boxing? They need another big star, don't you, from Ireland?
We've kind of come off this at the minute. We had a massive time with Clark Frampton.
Yeah,
Clark Frampton, his career isn't over yet. Clark Frampton just changed it. Clark Frampton was that big star that we were looking after
yeah,
McGuigan,
yeah,
and he's a massive fan base. He's a very down to earth guy. He's both sides. He's a great talker, very action, down to earth. He's one of us, and I think we're going to go through like a hangover after Carl. It's going to be
yeah,
hard. Everyone's going to be compared to Carl
yeah.
ticket wise and stuff, but we couldn't get a. For years, we were trying to latch on to a star. There was Brian McGee at the time, and he wasn't quite, you know, like superstar level the way like Sakar was, but we didn't have the support from the promoters then. I remember when Carl left Matchroom that time, and Eddie come on and says, "Well, you know what? I lose money taking production over the Northern Ireland, so I'm not bothered." But he was selling out the SSE arena, so he was. So they were getting something from it. Frank
Yeah.
Warren was always very good over here. Frank Warren, brought over the Martin Rogan fights. The two fights with the heavyweight. What do you call the heavyweight from Norwich?
Sam Sexton.
Sam Sexton fights. They were great builds. They were great. He brought over all the Olympian fighters. So yeah, it'd be good to get something like that going again, and hopefully all the lads keep winning and keep selling tickets and keep active.
Brilliant.
That's the main thing.
All right then, mate. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure, and I will see you again sometime. I'll be in touch. All right, Ken. We'll get you on
Top
again.
man, Russell.
Thank you very much, and all the best. And have you got a Twitter handle or Instagram, anything like that?
No, I don't. I'm not bothered with all that.
Yeah, you're shy. You're shy, aren't you?
Just a wee bit.
All right then, Ken. You take care, Ken. God bless.
Take care, Russell.
Take care. Bye bye.